The typical side hustle makes $200 a month, not 2,000, 200. And yet 115 million adults have one, all told the same thing. Just start something. Meanwhile, 42% of recent graduates work jobs that never required their degree. Both paths are quietly broken, and nobody says it out loud. So, 7 side hustles, each scored on 3 things: how long it takes to learn, what it costs to start, and how hard it really is to reach 1,000 a month. And at the end, the honest part. What separates the $200 hustles from the ones that pay real money? It isn't the idea. Let's start with the thing you were told at 18. Get the degree, get the job. Your parents believed it because, for them, it was true. Today, 42% of graduates aged 22 to 27 are underemployed, working roles that don't require a degree at all. Unemployment for fresh graduates sits near 6%, and the average public university student borrows about $32,000 to get there. Now, and this is where most videos on this topic lie to you, that does not mean a degree is worthless. Graduates still earn over $1 million more across a working life on average, at roughly half the unemployment rate. The problem isn't the average, it's the spread. The median degree returns about $160,000 over a lifetime, but roughly 30% of programs lose money outright, from minus $150,000 at the bottom to over $500,000 at the top. Same word, degree. Wildly different outcomes. So it isn't a scam. It's just not a guarantee anymore. And a guarantee is exactly what you were sold. Which is why a second income matters. But hold this question. The typical side hustle earns $200 a month. Which of these 7 break past that, and why? The answer isn't the one you'd guess. First, short videos without ever showing your face. Platforms are still fighting each other for attention, and the currency in that fight is creators. That's why payout programs exist at all. They're buying your audience, not your talent. You don't need a face, a studio, or a personality. You need one thing: to understand why a thumb stops scrolling. The practical version. Watch shorts deliberately instead of passively. Every time you watch one to the end, pause and ask what made you stay. The first sentence, the open question, the thing you were waiting to see. Write it down. 2 weeks of that and you have a list of hooks that objectively work, built from evidence instead of guessing. That list is the product. Editing is the easy part. Scorecard. Learning it. 3 out of 5. It looks simple and isn't. You're learning applied psychology, not video editing. Starting cost. 1 out of 5. A phone and internet, which you obviously have. Reaching 1,000 a month. 3 out of 5. Payouts vary wildly by platform and country, and most people quit at week 6, right before the algorithm has enough data to decide what you are. Second, coaching. Not necessarily fitness. Anything you can do that somebody else wants to learn. The uncomfortable truth that makes this work. People pay real money to be told things they could look up for free. Not because they're stupid, because they're tired. They're paying for the shortcut, the order, and someone checking whether they actually did it. That last part is the whole business. Recorded courses are a commodity now. What isn't flooded is personal accountability. An intake conversation, a plan built for one person, and a check-in they know is coming. Scorecard. Learning it. 2 out of 5 if you already have the skill. If you don't, the clock starts earlier. Starting cost. 1 out of 5. A laptop and a calendar. Reaching 1,000 a month. 2 out of 5. And here's the number to notice. Freelancing and consulting is the highest earning side hustle category in the data, averaging around $4,200 a month. 4 clients at $250 is 1,000. That's not a fantasy. That's 4 people. Third, using AI tools to produce creative work. Animation, design, visuals, for businesses that don't know how yet. That last part is the entire opportunity. There's a well-documented pattern for how any new technology spreads. First, the innovators, 2.5%, who buy on day one. Then early adopters, 13.5%. Then the early majority, 34%, who wait for proof. Then the late majority, another 34%. And finally the laggards, 16%, who adopt only when there's no alternative left. With AI tools, we're around that early majority tipping point right now, which means most businesses that need this work still can't do it themselves. That gap is where the money sits, and it won't stay open. Scorecard. Learning it. 3 out of 5. The tools are easy, taste is not. Anyone can generate something, which is exactly why generating something good is what gets paid. Starting cost. 1 out of 5. Subscriptions cost less per month than one afternoon of a freelancer. Reaching 1,000 a month. 2 out of 5, and falling. This is the one with a closing window. Fourth. Writing. But not the novel. Nobody pays for the novel until the lottery ticket comes in. They pay for writing that makes them money. Sales pages, video scripts, email sequences. Words move money, and most companies are terrible at them. Now the honest numbers, because this is the widest spread on the list. Average freelance writing rates on the big platforms sit around $28 an hour. That's the bottom, where you compete with everyone on earth, including AI. The top charges multiples of that, and the difference isn't talent. It's proximity to revenue. Rewriting a blog post is worth little. Rewriting the page where customers decide to buy is worth a lot, because you can point at the result. Scorecard. Learning it. 4 out of 5. The hardest here. Not physically, mentally. Good writing needs uninterrupted concentration, a genuinely rare skill now. Starting cost. 1 out of 5. A cheap phone will do. Reaching 1,000 a month. 3 out of 5 at the bottom of the market. 1 out of 5 once you write things that visibly grow somebody's revenue. Fifth, and the most overlooked. Setting up and running online communities for other people. Every creator, brand, and small business wants one now, and almost none of them know how to build it. Complicated enough to confuse a beginner, simple enough for a teenager to learn in a weekend. That gap is the entire job. And the business model is the beautiful part. Not a one-off build, but ongoing management. Recurring money, which, as you'll see at the end, is the difference between $200 a month and real income. Free tip. Join 5 communities that already work and study what makes them feel alive. The rules, the rituals, how newcomers get welcomed. That's your training. Scorecard. Learning it. 2 out of 5. Basics in an afternoon, the rest over weeks. Starting cost. 1 out of 5. A computer. Reaching 1,000 a month. 2 out of 5. 4 clients at $250, and setup work usually turns into a monthly retainer if you're any good. Sixth, buying things below their value and selling them at it. Sneakers, luxury bags, watches, vintage, the category matters less than the skill, and the skill is authentication and pricing. This is the one I'd flag hardest, because it's the only hustle here where you can genuinely lose money. Everything else costs you time. This costs you inventory. Serious resellers spend months learning to spot fakes, stitching, smell, hardware, materials, before spending real money, because a single expensive mistake wipes out months of profit. Scorecard. Learning it. 4 out of 5. You're learning to detect fraud, which takes real reps. Starting cost. 4 out of 5, by far the highest here. You need actual capital, and it sits in unsold stock. Start cheap and climb. Reaching 1,000 a month. 2 out of 5 once you know what you're doing, because margins on a single item can be enormous. The trap isn't the selling, it's the buying. Seventh, and it isn't a side hustle at all, which is exactly why it belongs here. Investing doesn't create income, it stores and multiplies the income the other 6 make. Nobody gets rich investing a salary they don't have. But everyone who got rich from a hustle did the same second thing. They fed the money into something boring that compounds. Buy the same thing regularly regardless of price, most simply through a broad index fund, and let time do the work. Quick disclaimer. I'm a badly drawn stick figure, not your financial advisor, and markets fall as well as rise. Scorecard. Learning it. 1 out of 5. The basics are genuinely simple once the vocabulary stops being scary. Starting cost. 1 out of 5. You can start with a single dollar. Reaching 1,000 a month. 5 out of 5 in the short term. This is the honest one. Investing will not pay you 1,000 a month anytime soon. It's the slowest thing on this list, and the only one that still works when you stop. So, which ones break the $200 ceiling? The answer isn't the idea. Remember the numbers from the start. The average side hustle earns about $1,100 a month. The median earns $200. When an average is 5 times the median, a small group is pulling everything upward, while most sit at the bottom. So what do the top ones share? 3 things. 1. The money isn't tied to your hours. Content, products, and communities keep earning while you sleep. 2. It repeats. A one-off job pays once. A retainer pays every month without being resold. 3. The skill compounds. It gets more valuable as you do it, instead of more replaceable. Look at the 7 through that lens, and the ranking rearranges itself. Communities and coaching win on repetition. Content and AI work win on scale. Writing wins on compounding once you're close to somebody's revenue. And reselling, the one that looks most like a real business, is the most fragile. Because every dollar is tied to an hour and a purchase. So no, your degree isn't worthless. And no, a side hustle isn't a magic escape. 42% of graduates are underemployed, and the typical hustle pays $200 a month. Both of those are true, and both have the same fix. Build something that keeps earning when you stop working on it. Next video, every type of debt, ranked from harmless to life-ruining, because one of them quietly eats everything you just built. Subscribe so you catch it. And tell me in the comments, which of the 7 would you actually start? Just drop the number, 1 to 7. I read every answer.